So this is a midterm year. There are multiple races that are happening. And one race I think we need to pay close attention to is the race in Pennsylvania. Now, this is a Senate race. Dr. Oz is running as a Republican. I'm not going to laugh, even though I want to. Yes, the Dr. Oz. He's running as a Republican. I don't know what that's all about. You also have Connor Lamb and John Fetterman, who are running on the Democrat side of things. Now, John Fetterman is a little bit different when you compare him to other Democrat candidates. That being said, he's still running through the Democratic Party, so he would not get my support per se. Plus, there's something else I want to show you about him as well. But people in Pennsylvania are speaking out, and it's more so it's starting to come from the workers about what workers want, and more importantly, what union workers want. So let's go ahead and get into that. Shout out to Case Study QB for this clip. Here's Chuck Todd sitting outside. I don't know why he's outside. Maybe he just wanted to get some sun. But let's hear what people are saying in Pennsylvania about what they are looking for in a candidate and why they are leaning towards John Fetterman. Here we go.
Welcome back. Since taking office, President Biden has vowed to be the most pro-union president in American history. Just last week, he met with the leader of Amazon's labor union. And in Ohio, he called unions the single best workers in the world. Union.
Yeah, this is all a ploy, by the way. Joe Biden said those things, but then at the same time, he gave Amazon more money. At the same time, when he met Chris Smalls and said he was for unions and all about unions, he was giving Amazon more money. So there's that. Chuck Todd isn't going to mention that part, though.
Members, that is. Union workers have long been a key voting bloc for Biden and Democrats, but Republicans have made some major inroads with these voters as well, in some places really scrambling the political terrain in battlegrounds across the country. We saw it in eastern Iowa a few months ago. We see it right here in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, and we see it where we find my colleague, NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor, who's in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, a place that was heavily a Democratic pro-union county. And Yamiche, it's still pro-union, but it's not so pro-democratic.
That's certainly right, Chuck. And last night, I was about an hour north of Pittsburgh, right on the border of Ohio, and listening to a town hall with the United Steelworkers, talking about sort of the things that are important to them, which is workers' rights and retirement, but also talking about the divisions among them, the differences. Listen to what Bernie Hall, one of the leaders in that union, had to say about those differences.
Here we go.
Well, I think union members are no different than anybody else, right? They don't live in a vacuum. So it's not just about labor issues. They also are concerned about women's rights. They're also concerned about education. In some parts of the state, gun rights are a big issue. But at the end of the day, typically, what we find is working people vote their paycheck. What's going to pay my bills? What's going to keep a roof over my head? What's going to put my kids through school?
So Bernie Hall was really trying to make the case in that meeting that workers should really be voting their pocketbooks. But he also...
Oh, that was a good one. Can you put that one right back up on the screen, Eric? Upstate Raider, healthcare, question mark. I noticed that too when I saw these two clips. There's two clips I'm going to show you here that healthcare wasn't mentioned. And then I had to remind myself, this is coming from union workers, which most likely they already have healthcare. So this is a common thing, a common scenario that tends to happen, that people are less likely to, I guess, really, I don't want to say care about, but fight for issues that do not affect them directly. That's pretty common. But yes, I wish they would have said healthcare as well.
Also made the case that they cannot be not be thinking about the political atmosphere within with their voting. And he was talking about the Supreme Court case and the poised decision to possibly overturn Roe v. Wade. He said, if the Supreme Court can overturn a law from 1973, what about the 1935 Wagner Act that said that companies had to organize and had to sort of negotiate, rather, with the unions that were helping employees get better wages? So it was a real connection, a real interesting connection to hear him make that case.
Yamiche, I'm curious, and look, if the answer is no, it's no. Did you see any evidence of any of the Senate candidates sort of making a play for any of those workers last night?
Here we go.
John Fetterman was very, very popular among that crowd. They were saying that he came, he talked to rank and file workers. It might be the shorts, it might be the fact that he feels more like them, but he apparently made a very, very good pitch to them, and they feel good about that. I will tell you, though, that one union leader said something to me that has stuck in my head ever since he said it. He said it's really going to come down to the 3 G's among the rank and file, and that is gods, guns, and gynecology, Chuck.
Oh, the 3 G's. It's going to come down to God, guns, and gynecology. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Okay, let me finish this here.
That's an interesting 3rd G that we've not heard before.
Okay, and then I'll go ahead to the second clip where this continues. So let me go ahead and grab that. And here we go. And again, another shout out to Case Study QB. So Case Study says here, MSNBC asking how Republicans are trying to go after the union vote. So let's go ahead and get into this clip here as well.
The reason I asked about, and I'm curious on the Republican side, we have they're closed primaries, and I know there aren't a lot of registered Republicans among labor union members, but it is something that is growing. No evidence of any of the Republican candidates trying to win these votes?
Well, Republicans are doing a lot of the work that's being done for Republicans, I'm being told, is on the media. It's sort of what the information that people are taking in. So I was listening to union leaders talk about how do we balance what our workers and our fellow union workers are listening to on the radio. Basically, they're saying that the message from conservatives are that Democrats want to take your guns. The Democrats are going to be against abortion, so you shouldn't be voting for them for that.
So I want to comment on that for a second, where she said the Democrats are going to want to take things away. Listen to this one second.
Against abortion, so you shouldn't be voting for them for that. So they're really union workers are listening to on the radio. Basically, they're saying that the message from conservatives are that Democrats want to take your guns. The Democrats are going to be against abortion, so you shouldn't be voting for them for that.
Okay, that the Democrats are going to want to take your guns. I seem to remember a fellow Democrat candidate who ran on that issue, Beto O'Rourke. He's now running again for governor in Texas. That was one of the issues that he brought up during the Democrat primary debates. He said, hell yeah, we're going to take your guns. And that message went out across the United States. And this is why some Republicans believe this. They think that's what we want to do. Not just like Democrats, but leftists, socialists. They think all of us want to take away their guns. And that is actually not true. I, for one, I can tell you, I do not have a gun. I don't want to own a gun, but I believe that people should have that right. I believe they have the right to exercise that amendment. So I believe when you have people like Beto O'Rourke make those statements on a debate stage, it gives people who are on the right the impression that that's what all of us want, and that's not what all of us want. So thanks, Beto. Oh boy, here we go.
So they're really in some ways going with the leaning into the cultural issues, while on the other side, you've heard union leaders really trying to explain to a lot of their members and really trying to strategize about how to make union workers understand that workers' rights, retirements, the infrastructure bill, some of the things that President Biden has passed, that is what's in their best interest. But I have to tell you, you can feel the tension in the room, and the culture, it seems to be working, except for, I said, John Fetterman, who is in some ways meeting them with the culture, the way he dresses, the way he talks.
Oh, 1 second, hear what she says about Joe Biden.
Retirements, the infrastructure bill, some of the things that President Biden has passed, that is what's in their best interest. But
if you have to persuade them that some of these issues that Biden has passed is in their best interest, that means for them personally, it's not in their best interest. If it was in their best interest, if it was beneficial to them, and I'm talking about individuals here, if it was beneficial to them, or they felt that it was beneficial to them, then they wouldn't have to be convinced. They would be able to see that, and they would feel that. This whole idea that we have to have politicians go across the country and convince people that Joe Biden is supposedly doing a good job. They have to go across the country and, as Obama and Hillary Clinton and O'Connor have said, tell the story better. Just goes to show you that they haven't received real benefits, that the American people are still being deprived. You shouldn't have to convince people. The tangibles should be there for you to see. Now they're going to go into John Fetterman.
I have to tell you, you can feel the tension in the room, and the culture, it seems to be working, except for, I said, John Fetterman, who is in some ways meeting them with the culture, the way he dresses, the way he talks, really trying to give a message to working class Americans. I will also say that they were handing out these forms, which really had X's by all the Republicans and check marks by all the Democrats, trying in a subtle way to say that the Democrats have your back and the Republicans do not.
Right.
Okay.
But I tell you.
So John Fetterman, he is appealing more to working class people. Although I would argue, if you looked at his background, I'll get into that in just a second. If you look at his background, I don't know if I would put him there per se, but he's appealing more to people that belong to unions, to working class people in Pennsylvania. So not the same for Connor Lamb, who's also running. And so here's the thing. The Democratic Party doesn't want John Fetterman. Surprise. The Democratic Party wants Connor Lamb. What is that race looking like? Let's see. Let him finish for a second.
Yeah, boy, the evidence just keeps piling up as to explain why so many national Democrats have turned away from Connor Lamb and have started focusing on John Fetterman here. I think they do see him as their best candidate to win this Senate seat.
Okay, let's come out of here. And I do want to show you where that race stands right now. Again, I'm not pro John Fetterman or Connor Lamb, but between the two, he is the one that it seems like so far working class people want him. Now, there are things to say about John Fetterman. One of them I do want to go ahead and bring to your attention. I got to tell you the pros and the cons. And this is one of the cons about John Fetterman. John Fetterman says he'll lean in on U.S.-Israel relationship as senator. So listen to this. John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania and the Democratic frontrunner in next month's high-profile Senate primary, said he was eager to affirm his unwavering commitment to bolstering ties between the United States and Israel. Now, this was in an interview that he had with Jewish Insider on Thursday, emphasizing that he will lean in on such efforts if he is elected to the upper chamber this November. So if you are looking for John Fetterman to stand with Palestine, he's not moving in that direction. Sorry, but I got to put that out there. I'm not here just to tell you the pros. I got to tell you the cons as well. Now, let's go ahead and go into the results so far. Let me move my little thing here. In this race, it appears that John Fetterman has now made it past the 50% mark. That was not the case about a month or two ago. So here's what's happening in Pennsylvania. Fetterman has a wide lead among Democrats in Pennsylvania Senate race, with Oz, McCormick in tight race for the GOP nomination. The Dr. Oz thing, I can't get it past it. I'm sorry. It's just hilarious to me. So here we go. With just over a week to go before Pennsylvania's marquee Senate primaries on May 17th, Democrats appear poised to nominate the state's Lieutenant Governor, John Fetterman, to be the party's nominee, while former television personality Dr. Oz and former hedge fund executive David McCormick are locked in a tight race on the Republican side. Here are the results. According to the most recent survey conducted by Franklin and Marshall College, Fetterman has a 53% to 14% lead over his closest challenger, Representative Connor Lamb. State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta came in third place with 4% support, while Jenkintown Councilman Alex Khalil registered with 1% of the vote. So this is where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen. John Fetterman has 53% of the vote. As it looks right now, he is going to win this race if things stay the same, unless we hear some kind of scandal come out or something like that. Danny said 53-14. That's a wide margin. Yes, it is a really wide margin. I don't know if there's anyone in the chat that is from Pennsylvania, but that's pretty large. So I think that, people are really saying that, listen, we want someone who's actually going to fight for workers here. We don't want to put in another, Wall Street lawyer type, politician. We want someone who's going to support the workers. I do want to tell you the results between the GOP race as well. So let me tell you where that is at. Oh, let me give this update. In Franklin and Marshall poll released last month, Fetterman led Lamb 41% to 17%. So that's important to know. So he's increasing each month. Let's go into the GOP results. Among Republicans, the race is much more fractured. Now, this one just drives me crazy. Dr. Oz is sitting at 18% and McCormick at 16%. Followed by conservative commentator Kathy Barnett at 12%, former U.S. ambassador to Denmark Carla Sands at 5%, and real estate developer Jeff Bartos at 2%. All I see are a bunch of wealthy people running for office, if you ask me. You got a real estate developer. You have an ambassador to Denmark. You have a commentator, Kathy here, conservative commentator. I'm sure she's well paid. And then you got Dr. Oz and McCormick. These are a lot of the times the people who are running for office, you guys. I don't think any of them represent the working class, but I did want to show you that because I did think it's important for you to see just how close that race is with Dr. Oz and McCormick. Now, there's something else I want to show you about John Fetterman, because I think it's important that I do say this to you guys, and I'm not trying to harp on him or anything. But I think you need to, know his story. So, for example, meet John. He came from Braddock to start a GED program. He became mayor and for 13 years worked to build the once booming steel town back from the collapse. So that's why people consider him more like a work fighting kind of dude. That being said, there's a part here I wanted to mention right here. I'm going to make this larger so you can see it. I do have to say this because I do want you to know it's not like he just kind of came out of nowhere. He joined Big Brothers and Big Sisters, so he was a part of that program. But at the same time, John, he joined AmeriCorps. He served in Pittsburgh Historical Hill District, where he helped set up the first computer labs in the neighborhood and taught GED classes to young mothers. I almost said mothers, to young mothers and fathers. Here we go. He went on to earn a master's in public policy from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. So that being said, I know he has done things for working class people in his community, but he is still Harvard. He's another one of the Harvard alum that run for office. So I did want to point that out, you guys. And we all know, and I've mentioned this before, that Harvard, obviously, in reference to Israel and Palestine, did not support Palestine. And that is one of the reasons why they did not give tenure. Actually, the main reason why they did not grant tenure to Cornel West, because he supported Palestine instead of Israel. So you have to understand where Harvard's donors come from. A lot of them do support Israel. Once you see that, then you understand why they have some of the talking points and the positions that they've had. So again, this is not to harp on him, but I did think it's important for people to know that. I'm sorry. I do just want to point that out So if he does end up winning, and he probably will beat Dr. Oz, if he ends up winning and he ends up voting in such a way that you find suspicious or suspect, I did want to point out, dude did go to Harvard. I'm sorry. I just had to, I had to say that. I think it's important that you do know that. Gonna go to some of the comments here. Miguel said, I knew they were going to use Chris Small's photo op for political purposes. Yeah, I felt like that was coming. Johannes said, Fetterman wears shorts to pretend he's associates with steel workers, but he's a trust fund grifter. Ouch. Oh boy. Gamer says running on the dim ticket is a losing strategy. Joe OWS, your viewers would be godsmacked if they ever went to Open Secrets and found out exactly how many politicians in Washington have dual citizenship as well as homes in the country of Israel. Well said, Joe. Thank you for this super chat, Charles K. I'm in PA and I voted for Fetterman via mail-in voting. I agree him running as a Dem is concerning. Yeah, like that was the thing. I'm like, when you look at the issues like on his website, I was like, okay, these are good issues. Why are you running as a Democrat? You know, it's obvious he has a huge lead over Connor Lamb. And I wonder, like, why didn't he run as an independent? You know, he probably could have still had that lead. So just had to say that there.